absolute chaos. Rangers are on the brink of civil war. Nicolas Raskin exiled after a fiery fallout with Russell Martin, now facing a shock January exit. Hamza Igamane, one of last season's top scorers, shipped off to France after refusing to come off the bench, slams Martin and thanks Clement instead. And now, Kevin Thelwell, the man who hand-picked Martin, is under serious pressure with Rangers legend David Weir circling for his job. One more misstep, and this whole house of cards could come crashing down. This video was recorded before the match against Hearts, but let's be honest, no matter the result, you know the drill. If we lose, it's Martin out. If we win, it's still Martin out next game. I'll be back tomorrow with all the fallout from the match and the reaction that follows. Well, you'd think UEFA might have calmed down a bit after last season's slap on the wrist, but no, here we are again, and this time the warning bells are ringing louder than ever. Rangers have been slapped with another fine, £17,300, for pyrotechnics going off during that frustrating night in Belgium against Club Brugge, a Champions League qualifier, and instead of just licking our wounds after a heavy defeat, we're now nursing a financial one too, but it's not just about the money anymore. This isn't some petty punishment to be brushed off. No, UEFA have made it crystal clear the next misstep could see Rangers kicked right out of the Europa League. Out, done, finished. Let that sink in. The statement from Ibrox wasn't just a polite request. It was a shot across the bow, a final warning to every supporter travelling abroad: behave or we all suffer. The Copland stand was already threatened with closure last season for that banner incident. Now we're talking about the possibility of away ticket bans and worse, full-on exclusion from Europe. Former referee Keith Hackett, not exactly one to mince his words, said, UEFA won't hesitate. He's backed the club's stance, saying it's a step in the right direction, but made it clear the rope's tightening. UEFA's watching and they've got no patience left. Let's not forget what's on the line here. European nights at Ibrox, the noise, the drama, the pride. Russell Martin, for all his critics, is still steering the ship, and despite that 9-1 humbling against Brugge, he's expected to lead us into a group featuring Genk, Roma, Braga, and Porto. That's a cracking lineup. That's exactly what you deserve to witness. But how do you enjoy it if you're barred from it? That's the question. With domestic ties against Hearts and Hibs just around the corner, you'd expect the Europa League games to be a highlight. Yet, with ticket prices going up and UEFA ready to pounce, the pressure's on, not just on the pitch but in the stands too. Should Rangers fans who put the club at risk in Europe be banned from travelling altogether, even if it means protecting the rest of you from UEFA, hammering us out of the competition? Right, you're going to want to sit down for this one, because things at Ibrox are getting ludicrous. Nicolas Raskin, one of the brightest sparks in the Rangers midfield last season, a lad who gave you everything on the pitch and a full international with Belgium, is now being left out the squad entirely. Not benched, not rotated, not nursing a knock, left out twice, once in the biggest fixture of the season against Celtic, and now again against Hearts. Not even spotted in the stands for the Old Firm, a total ghost. And now, because of all this madness, the vultures are circling. Fenerbahce and Besiktas are both sniffing about, with the Turkish window still open. There's serious late interest, and given the direction this is heading, who can blame them? Rangers legend Derek Ferguson's not holding back either. Called Raskin's exclusion absolutely ridiculous and crazy. Said if you've got a fiery character in the dressing room, you manage it, that's the job. You don't exile the boy and weaken your squad against your biggest rivals. Raskin's scored his first goal for Belgium. He made 48 appearances last season. He was arguably the most consistent midfielder at the club. Yet, here we are talking about a fallout with Russell Martin that could end in a January exit, if not sooner. And let's be honest, this isn't just about Raskin, this is about the bigger picture. How does a manager justify keeping his best midfielder out when the team's crying out for a bit of spark and fight. You lose 9-1 to Brugge, you're labouring through matches domestically, and the one player who can control a midfield is being told to sit at home. Russell Martin himself admitted Raskin was unsettled by summer interest, that his head was turned. Fine, that's football, but this situation wasn't managed, it was let spiral, and now we're staring down the barrel of potentially losing a top asset, either on the cheap or to a club we could face in Europe. The Belgian's already said his situation at Rangers is complicated. And when a player starts saying things like that while on international duty, you know it's serious. If Russell Martin can't fix things with Raskin and refuses to play him, should he be sacked before January just to stop us from losing one of our best players? Here we go again. Another Rangers talent out the door, and once more it's Russell Martin right at the heart of the mess. Hamza Igamane, the Moroccan striker who lit up Ibrox last season with 16 goals in all competitions, is now off to France, sealing a £10 million move to Lille. And the most brutal part? He's not holding back on who he does give credit to. And spoiler alert, it's not Martin. No, Igamane's all praise for the man Rangers kicked to the curb, Philippe Clement. He says it straight. Clement made him believe in himself, helped him progress, gave him the platform to become a player worthy of a big money transfer and a link up with none other than Olivier Giroud, from the streets of Morocco to playing alongside a World Cup winner, and it all came from a season at Ibrox under Clement, not Marty. And it gets even more infuriating. Igamane's not just gone to Lille and vanished into the shadows, he's banging in goals already. 2 on his debut, another couple for Morocco. You gave him the stage, he delivered, and yet his final act in a Rangers shirt, refusing to come off the bench against St. Mirren. Why? Injury, he claimed. Martin didn't buy it. 6 days later, he was sold. Let's be honest here. Russell Martin's been banging the drum about building a disciplined squad, about having players who will buy into his system. But what kind of system drives away a striker worth £10 million who idolised Giroud and wanted to stay at Rangers until the relationship collapsed? Philippe Clement, for all his flaws, recognised potential. He took a raw, street footballing talent from Morocco, someone who didn't speak a word of English, and turned him into a polished, composed, and deadly forward. Clement didn't care that the lad had never had formal training. He saw the hunger, the drive. Martin couldn't manage the situation, couldn't keep hold of one of the few players who looked capable of carrying Rangers forward in Europe. And look, yes, Igamane turned down a sub-appearance. Yes, that's unprofessional. But what's behind that moment? Was it frustration? Was it something deeper? A lack of trust? When you've got players losing belief in the manager, you don't just have a personnel issue, you've got a culture problem. Is Russell Martin doing more damage to Rangers off the pitch than on it? And if he's forcing out top talents like Igamane and falling out with Raskin, should he be the one packing his bags in January instead? Well, the dominoes are starting to wobble at Ibrox, and it's not just Russell Martin feeling the heat now. Kevin Thelwell, the man brought in with all the chat about structure, ambition, and rebuilding Rangers from top to bottom, is already looking over his shoulder. Let's call it what it is. Thelwell's summer master plan has so far been an utter misfire. The signings have been hit and miss at best. Youssef Chermiti came in for a hefty sum from Everton, a punt that's looking more like a panic buy than a calculated move. And then there's Russell Martin, his big managerial pick, unpopular from day one, tactically shaky, already falling out with key players. Thelwell backed him, and that backing might now drag him down too. But here's where it gets interesting. David Weir, Rangers legend, a man who not only wore the shirt with pride, but actually gets what this club means. He's just left Brighton. After years of brilliant work behind the scenes, a shock departure, as it's being described, and you can bet your boots that alarm bells are ringing in Thelwell's office. Weir was already in the conversation before Thelwell was appointed. Now, with Martin underperforming and the dressing room fracturing, the whispers of a Weir return aren't just fantasy, they're very much on the table, and if Martin goes, Thelwell's entire credibility goes with him. There's even talk Thelwell threatened to quit if Martin was sacked. That's not confidence, that's desperation. You don't tie your career to a manager who's already lost the crowd, lost the players, and looks lost on the touchline. The Rangers board, especially with 49ers Enterprises wanting stability and vision, will be watching this unfold with a growing sense of unease. And here's the thing, Weir would bring stability. He'd bring respect, credibility, and actual football sense to the role. Imagine the shift in tone at Ibrox if you had someone who understood both the business and the badge. Thelwell, by contrast, feels like a man who's trying to play football manager with real lives and real consequences. If Kevin Thelwell refuses to sack Russell Martin and sticks by him no matter what, should Rangers bring David Weir back, even if it means showing Thelwell the door too? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.